A warm welcome to the most beautiful chess problems of all time. And I'll wish you a happy new year 2026. And this year too, there'll be plenty of chess studies that we'll analyse here on this channel. As is unfortunately the case here, the composer is unfortunately unknown to me, but that shouldn't stop us from enjoying the beauty of the problem. White to move, white can win the game, and if you find the right solution, feel free to pause the video. You had the chance to pause the video, and if you thought a bit naively, there's just a queen hanging, I'll take it, and then it should be quite easy to win, then that's not the case. No, then you've just stalemated, because the king and both of black's pawns can't move. The black king is not in check. That's why it's stalemate and therefore a draw. And the nasty thing about this study is you have very, very many different rook moves, but only one rook move is correct, and it's not so easy to find. There are a few that look very logical, for example, rook from c to d1. Yes, here we're simply threatening checkmate, and the black queen can't really defend against it very well, because, if necessary, this rook can also deliver checkmate. But black has a super creative defense here, and that's queen to h4. And I just find that incredible. First of all, black controls this important square here, and black is also simply threatening to deliver checkmate themselves. And as white, we can't really deal with either of these threats properly. So first of all, exactly, if we capture here with the rook, it's the same principle as before. Black is stalemated. And if we think, okay, then I'll move the rook to d4. And yes, dear black player, go ahead and capture this rook, then I can calmly deliver checkmate here. Yes, black probably won't do us that favour, because he'll be clever enough to capture this rook here, and the geometry of the chessboard then allows black to keep control of the important h8 square. And yes, that's why there's no win for white here. Another interesting move could be rook from c to f1. And right here, to threaten checkmate, but black has the option here to control both squares with queen to g7, and white can't really do much here, make any progress. The same applies here for rook from c to g1. Black simply plays queen to g7 again, controls the two important mating squares, and white can't make any progress here. So again, if a capture happens here, it's simply a draw. And now, after a lot of trying with the wrong rook moves, we finally come to the correct rook move. And that's rook from c to e1. So, what's the difference now? Firstly, the two squares where our rooks threaten checkmate aren't so easy for the queen to control in a single move. And black has to manage things a bit differently here. And black does this by moving the queen to g8, just about keeping those squares under control. And yes, the annoying thing is, if we look at this diagonal, black is also threatening mate themselves. Checkmate. In other words, as white, we need to make progress here, but still fend off black's threats. And we do this in a very creative way, namely by playing rook to e6. At first glance, it looks like a blunder. But black would be mad to just take it, because rook to h8 would look rather silly for black if they get checkmated here. So black is not going to capture this rook here. And if black plays something like queen to d8 here, simply to keep control of both squares, well then white can double the rooks, rook to h8, and black has just given up their mating threat here. They've given it away voluntarily, and that's why black loses the game here. For this reason, the best defensive move is queen to f8. Still controls these two squares, but black still sets up this mating threat, which is why rook to h6 wouldn't be a good idea. Instead, yes, white has to handle things again, so to speak. He needs to make progress. But at the same time, he also has to make sure that this mate can't actually be carried out. And so the best move is rook to e7. Just put the rook in between once more. And we've still made progress. We've got the rook onto the 7th rank, and that's generally a bit stronger than the 6th rank. What can black do with it? Again, several options. Queen to d8, same game as before, not such a good idea. Queen to g8, better idea, because black still keeps up this mate threat. And what does the white player do now? Simply the same idea as before, just interpose the rook again. And yes, the progress isn't immediately obvious, but it's there simply because now black can't set up this mate threat anymore, as this diagonal here is blocked. The square 8 can't be occupied by the queen because the rook is controlling it at the moment. And yes, okay, 8 doesn't work in general, but yes, there's no mate threat from black in sight here. So black has to find another way. And how does he do that? Of course, he still sets up a mate threat. Queen to g7, and yes, white still has the problem that he can't deliver mate himself here. Black controls both of the important squares here, and, if necessary, can also set up a mate threat if the rook leaves the first rank. So, what does white do instead? Feel free to pause the video again. So, now's your chance to pause the video. And the winning move for white here is with the rook, to capture on 7. Because what is black really supposed to do about it? If black captures back with the queen here, well then it has a very matter-of-fact ending. After rook to 8, yes, the queen probably has to interpose. And if that's captured, then it's over pretty quickly. Checkmate. In other words, the rook sacrifice has to be accepted with the king here. And white still has a winning position here. Namely, with the move rook to t1. Remember, we still have to fend off black's mate threat. And here, we're setting up a rather nasty threat ourselves, with rook to e7. And yes, what is black really supposed to do here? Queen to e7, I think, is a more sensible defensive move, or just a sensible move. Simply to really renew the mate threat once again. And yes, rook to d7 still can't be prevented. Black will capture with the queen here. We can capture the queen. And if the king takes, then we've cleared the way for the pawn here and can promote to a queen. And I think, in this position, you really have to fancy white's chances of winning. That was today's puzzle. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like, and I've linked a video for you on this side here. Just click on it, and I'll see you again in the next video.